All right, and we're going to jump right into our preview today. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Alana Davis. I'm the K-12 Science Professional Learning Specialist, and today I'm going to preview Q3 for you and give you some lessons, activities, and ideas, and we are going to go over these standards for third quarter. So let's jump right into it. I have to remind myself to record every time. But let's do some science department announcements and updates. Just letting you know, go ahead and mark your calendars because I will be sending out a meeting request via Teams very soon. But our next virtual CCC meeting date is going to be March 15th for K2. So first grade science teachers will join in on March 15th. The meeting will be recorded and posted to your grade level science teams for later viewing if necessary. If you can't join us then, I always post the recording and the PowerPoint in your grade level team, so be on the lookout for that. Also, some CTLS updates. We have new K2 Science Workshop Model Lesson Unit Plans for you for Q3 that are uploaded under the Topic Navigator tab. So if you go to Topic Navigator, you'll drop down to the unit that you're wanting to get resources for. And then underneath Instructional Strategies is where you will find the new Q3 Science Workshop Model Lesson Plans for you, and they are written in that structure, so you will see that there's an opening phenomenon, some workstation, science station ideas and resources, and then closing formative assessment ideas as well. Also, that virtual field trip document has been uploaded to the course resources tab underneath your grade level science course as well. Also, we would love to see all the really cool science events that you have going on. And I say events, but I mean any lab or investigation, science workshop model work session. Even if you are hosting a cool science event virtually, invite the science department out to check it out. We won't be there in person, but we would love to join you virtually. So that is linked here in this PowerPoint, but it was also uploaded to the grade level science CCC teams as well a couple of months ago, so you can find that form there as well. All right, so here is what we are doing today in our time together. We're going to go over those Q3 science standards. We're going to unpack those, and I'm going to give you some background knowledge that you might need to know in order to teach those standards accurately to your first graders. We're going to go over those unit plans, and I'm going to give you some lesson resources, and then we'll have some time at the end for us to come back together, for you to ask any questions, and also to give some feedback regarding all the fun stuff that I'm going to share today. All right, so let's jump into this. This is your first grade science teaching and learning framework, and this is located in CTLS Teach. When you go into your grade level science course, you'll see it on the course navigator tab, and this is just giving you an overview and a framework of how we teach our science, also known as a pacing guide that we use. And if you look at the first grade framework, you can see that for Q3, we have one big unit on animals, but also we are continuing our discovery of weather and the seasons. So we are going to be digging into that as well. You can download this from CTLS Teach. My suggestion to all teachers everywhere is to download your frameworks and save it in a folder or a notebook that you take back and forth just so you can have it when you need it. And that's what I do. I love having the standards and the frameworks readily available to me. So let's jump into our standards. So like I said, we have one big unit on animals, and then we are continuing our discovery and learning about weather and seasons throughout the year. But first, we know that all of our science GSE standards start with the same three words in every standard, which is obtain, evaluate, and communicate. And those three words are an embedded science and engineering practices, because we use three-dimensional science instruction in Cobb. But for animals, we're going to obtain, evaluate, and communicate information about the basic needs of plants and animals, but specifically for this unit, we're going to look at animals. And then underneath that, you have your standard elements that also have those embedded science and engineering practices. So for our first element for animals, it's ask questions to compare and contrast basic needs of animals, which is air, water, food, and shelter. You see how those are there's a slash in between there because you have plants on the left side, the basic needs of plants, and the basic needs of animals on the right-hand side of that backslash. So ask questions to compare and contrast. And when we're unpacking these standards, you're really going to hit this element when we open up with that really good phenomenon to activate our students' background knowledge and to get them thinking about and questioning what they know about animals. So the way you're going to assess the standards is by teacher observation and even some questioning back and forth with your students, and they're explaining their science thinking. And then there's some concrete ways that they can do that as well. And then element C for this unit is design a solution to ensure animals, unanimals needs are met. And I'm going to give you some activity ideas and ways that you can do that with your students. But with animals, really, it's important for teachers to have that background knowledge. And so thinking about animals, we know that the animal kingdom contains a wide variety of life forms, sponges, jellyfish, snails, worms, insects, spiders, fish, snakes, frogs, birds, even humans, right? And even though there's all of these different types and varieties, we really want our students to kind of narrow it down. And at this point, the most important thing is to identify their basic needs and how they meet those basic needs. So in order to survive, animals need air, water, food, and shelter. That shelter is basically protection from predators and the environment. All right, and every organism has its own way of making sure those basic needs are met. Understanding those needs will help build understanding for our students about how animals can adapt to their environment in order to meet those needs in the habitats they live in third grade. So we're going to continue the learning of animals in second grade with life cycles, and then the knowledge that they build from first and second grade are really going to help them when they get into how animals adapt and survive in their environments and habitats. Now let's talk about weather and seasons. This is, reiterating what they've already learned about weather and season, but those standards are obtain, evaluate, and communicate weather data to identify weather patterns. So really here we're integrating that math, and for this particular preview I'm doing today, we're going to focus on elements A and D. And A is represent data in tables and or graphs to identify and describe different types of weather and characteristics, and then analyze that data to identify seasonal patterns of change. So we're kind of taking it a little further, but as science thinkers, as we want our first graders to be science thinkers, we need them to start looking at simple and concrete data regarding weather so they can identify different types of weather and characteristics. All right, so let's start with phenomenon. So every unit that we're posting for you and every unit that you teach, you need to use a phenomenon to drive your students' questioning. That can be a video clip, it can be a picture, it can be a demonstration, it can be something you bring from home. It doesn't matter. We want that whatever your phenomenon is, something naturally occurring in the world, to help prompt students to obtain answers by research and investigating and doing those science and engineering practices, okay? And you're going to do that by writing your students' questions down on a driving question board. So you're going to show the phenomenon, and then you're going to prompt your students with some probing questions to get them thinking. All right, so they're going to obtain those. If you look at the graphic on the right, you'll see they generate questions, and then they're going to use those SMPs, science and engineering practices, in the science workshop model work session stations to figure out the answer to those questions and develop that background knowledge that they need for the basic needs of animals. And the questioning boards allows our students to communicate their findings. All right, so let's talk about animals. So our anchoring phenomenon here is alligators surviving in ice. So you're going to introduce this phenomenon and create a question board with your students. Those questions can be about the alligator. It can be about the ice. I'm going to click on this. I hope it works for me. Here we go. Okay, so this is from the Wonder of Science website, and it's a short clip about how alligators survive in frozen water. And we really want it to just ignite their thinking and their questioning. Really great video that you can use, and you can play this every day of the unit. You can come back to this video every single day. You're going to come back to that questioning board to kind of activate their background knowledge on that. For this unit, for our animals unit, you have been provided a Science Workshop Model 2-week unit plan. So for the first week on Monday, you'll introduce the phenomenon, you'll create the questioning board, and there will be a read aloud. And then Tuesday through Friday, you'll have workstations. And the next week, same thing. You might have a different phenomenon, or you can keep going with your alligator, but you will have Monday through Thursday full of stations, different stations. And then on Friday will be assessment day. So let's talk about some activities that I have for you. All of these activities are going, they have actually been uploaded into a OneDrive folder, and that OneDrive folder will be provided to you in your grade level teams, the first grade science CCC team, after this preview. But the first activity I have here for you called Animal Facts, you can see it over here on the left. You can have your students choose an animal, and for animals to live, they need water, food, and shelter. Please tell me all about your animal, completing the sentences below. So you can do this using PebbleGo Animals or any kind of research tool that you can, but it's really having our students obtain that information about animals. And you could even integrate this into your writing block as well and have them write an informational piece about that animal. The second and the rest of the activities come from one of my favorite science resources from back in the day. It's called AIMS, and your school should have these AIMS books, but I have these activities in the folder for you. That second activity that you see a snippet of right there are pictures of animals, habitats. And you can even have your students take toilet paper rolls and create little binoculars, or you can give them hand lenses. And for each picture, there's pictures for different type of habitats, and you can see that there's animals in those habitats. For example, this one says, woods provide habitats for many plants and animals. Keep your eyes open as we enter the woods. How many animals can you spot? What are they doing? And what kind of plants do you see? Here, we're really wanting to pick out with our students. You can have them color this before they do that, circle the animals, and then maybe on another lab sheet or a sheet of lined paper, have them answer those questions. Or it can be a discussion as well. If this is a station where you want to pull kids to do individualized instruction, you can have that conversation with them and extend their thinking a little bit and have them start considering, what kind of shelter? I see a little squirrel. Oh, I see a bird or a hawk that has picked up a snake or a worm. What is that providing it? Oh, that's providing it food. Things like that for that activity. A Fish for Francis is a cute little read aloud book. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like in just a second when I stop sharing my screen. But this little book that you can read, you can make individual books, or you can just print this out for you. But it's about Francis, who won a fish at the fair, and the man at the booth tells her that her fish needs a really good home, and she has to think about what kind of home her fish will need based on its needs. And she goes through all these different ideas, like a dog pen and a cup and a bird cage, and really has to figure out for herself what is going to be best for her fish. One really good instructional strategy that I have used using read aloud little books in science stations is to have them highlight or use a crayon or a colored pencil to circle all the science words that they see. So like food, water, fish, home, things that relate back to water, space, food, all of those things that are basic needs that our animals need. I would have them highlight those words in the book if you give them individual books. But this book is setting us up for the activity called pet planning that will hit that element C, which is design a solution to ensure that an animal's needs are met. This pet planning activity is really cool. I'm going to show it to you in just a second. I have an example, but they will pick an animal, and you can even reduce the amount of animals. You can maybe have a predetermined list of animals that are, common to our area, or you can let them choose anything. You could let them have Pebble Go Animal and see that. But what they're doing here is this is their pet planning page. So they're going to write their animal. They are going to draw and sketch what kind of food it needs. They're going to have to do some research. They can even use the research that they used from Animal Facts. They can use that same animal. What kind of space they're going to need to survive. What type of water, if they do need, and shelter. What would their home look like? And then you can make it into a STEM challenge, and they can actually build this model. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second so I can show you my example. My example right here. This is a teacher example. So this is what I would blow up into poster size so my students could use this as an anchor chart. So my animal is a lizard, and I have what it eats, what food it eats, and a little sketch of that. I have what kind of space it needs to survive, what type of water, and then shelter. Within that space, what kind of shelter will your lizard need in order to stay away from predators? So that is pet planning. And then this is the book, A Fish for Francis. Again, this comes with the pet planning activity in the AIMS activity. And the way it's kind of almost rocket science how you have to learn to put these books together, because it's, how crazy books can be copied sometimes. But it is, I believe, a little higher than first grade Lexile level, unfortunately. But if you wanted to do this whole group first and read this aloud under the document camera, that would work just as well as giving each student a copy of this too. And if you wanted to still do the science words that you see, you could write those down on the side of the board as you read the book as well. All right, another activity that I didn't post on the PowerPoint, but I absolutely love this, and it goes with making a model. But this is a page. You would not give this page to the students. You could. I would put it underneath a document camera, but I'm going to give you an example of what it is. So you're going to give the students clues, and they have to make a model, whether it's drawing with Play-Doh, modeling clay, popsicle. You can give them any materials that you wanted to, but here is an example. So this is the clue. I walk slowly on my 4 feet. I have a hard shell on my back. Make a model of me. What is it? It's a turtle, right? So your students can make a model of the turtle. And then it gives you several other ones too. I live in a nest and fly. Make a model of me. This would be a great assessment at the end. Your pet planning would be a great assessment piece, a summative assessment piece. This would be a great formative assessment piece. But this is all included in the resources that I'm dropping for you in Teams in a little bit. All right, I'm going to reshare my screen. All right, more. So there's the make a model with the clues. Here is another animal research graphic organizer that I found that I really, really like. Maybe if you do, I put it next to the make a model because another great idea is have your students make a model based on the clues of one of the animals, and then they go research that animal using this graphic organizer on Pebble Go Animal or whatever you would like to use. And that could be a summative piece as well. And then they have to write, 1 or like 4 or 5 sentences. I don't really know what the writing maximum is for first grade, but you could actually integrate those 2 activities together. And then I do have a very short selective response assessment that you could give your students as well, where they're just answering those 4 questions. All right. So those are some new activities that you can do. Weather and seasons. Okay, so I told you that the 2 standard elements for weather and seasons is all about data collection and analyzing that data. So I found some really cute weather tracking and observation graphs. So if you do calendar or anything like that, I don't know how old school calendar is. I'm a big calendar proponent, but we have some thermometers right here that you could do classroom temperature, in the shade temperature, and in the sun once it gets a little bit warmer to go outside when we get back. And you can talk about thermometers and what the role of a thermometer is to gauge the temperature. And then, of course, watching the weather. So these 2 papers go together. You have your students watch the weather for 4 weeks, recording Monday through Friday, whether it's cloudy, foggy, hail, rainy, partly cloudy, sunny, snowy, windy. Once they do that, you're going to do some bar graphs. You could do this as a whole class if you wanted to. If you do not think your students will be capable of, keeping up with this and doing that, because we will have remote learners and face-to-face learners, do it as a whole group every day before you begin your science instruction. So we're kind of embedding that within the units that you're already doing for animals. And then I have a really cute sort about temperature, whether things are hot or cold, where they cut and paste those items into the appropriate category as well. And that is it, but I'm going to share a couple other little cute things that I have for weather. Here is another really cute weather. It's called Observe the Weather, and they're using their senses: see, hear, smell, and feel. I would pull this out on a day that it was rainy or foggy or just not the normal sunny day, and have them really think about what they see, hear, and smell and feel. So that's an example. Another really cute weather one is My Favorite Weather. You could turn this into a writing assignment as well, but they are drawing a picture of your favorite type of weather and putting themselves in the picture. I didn't do that because I would draw a stick figure. And then they write words to describe their favorite weather. So they're using those science words that they're learning with weather as well. So all of these resources are going to be in that folder that I dropped for you. Let me check the chat. Yes, perfect to integrate math. For graphing. And then you can actually, if you do it as a whole group, that graph, you can start pulling out those math questions, like how many more sunny days do we have than cloudy days, or either or, things like that. All right, so I'm just looking back over yes, Mystery Science is free. It's so good. It's so good. Mystery Science is awesome. You have free access to it. And the really good thing about Mystery Science is that you can send students a link, especially your remote learners, down on the right-hand side. When you go into a lesson or a mystery unit, if you scroll down to the right side, it'll say readings, assessment, activities, handouts. There is one that says student link. And instead of sharing your link, you can actually give them a link, and it will just be the student version of the video and the activities. So they don't have all of the materials and stuff like that a teacher would normally see when they log into Mystery Science. But other than that, that's all I have for you today. Any other questions before we log off today? Awesome. Okay, well, this recording will be posted on the Teams, and it will be available January 5th. Like I said, I'm posting all the materials for you guys on our Teams as soon as possible, along with the PowerPoint. All right, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me today. Y'all have a wonderful Christmas break.
Thank you. You too.